Mhm. Hey, Peter. How are you? Oh. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I don't think so. She's out today. Yeah. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think. Yeah. I didn't. Can't be trusted with a number. I would One question, yeah. So, you know, just so am I reading?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then like. Okay, all right. Well, that's my spot. Get it in my head. And I don't have to ask.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'm going to, at 7 o'clock, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the village board meeting for August 17th. And first order of business is the proposal, new curtain drain proposal from Mr. Belmonte, after which there will be public, during the public comment section, there will still be time for public comment. So, Ken, did you want to say something beforehand or after?
I prefer to say that.
Okay, couldn't remember. Okay. Peter? Back there. Hello.
For you,
Good.
yeah, use your screen.
Sure.
Or the antiquated way on paper, since you guys were so high tech. I'm Pete Belmonte of Belmonte Builders. With me this evening is Travis Mitchell, Principal of VDP Engineering. This is the result of a fair amount of collaboration in between neighbors on the top of Village Circle North, the HOA, Mr. Mitchell, and ourselves. And the current drain was originally put in with the understanding that we had some groundwater that was migrating into the neighborhood from the west. And we wanted to capture that water and get it into the storm sewer system. The problem was originally noticed with residents living in this particular home. When the home was constructed initially, there was no sense of groundwater, and then sometime through the construction of the home, groundwater started to appear. At that time, we concluded that we wanted to put a curtain drain in, curtain drain being a pipe buried in the ground, lower than the depth of these foundations, collecting the water through stone and perforated pipe, continuing it down to the easterly side of the development and putting it into the storm sewer system. At that time, it was connected to the stream. Currently, it's been reconnected to the catch basin system in the development. Over time, we had found out that the contractor that had did the work had not stayed on course. He had wandered off of course. We had discovered a few problems with the line that needed to be repaired. There's been a fair amount of discussion about that over time. But one of the challenges the homeowners association had was the maintenance of that line. What we've done is we reproposed replacing the line on the very western side, bringing that line to the catch basin system within the village's right of way, continuing it down and putting it into the catch basin at this point, taking the burden off the existing curtain drain and putting it into the new curtain drain. That curtain drain would be a two-pipe system. It would be a system where we pick up the basement drains of the houses we were passing, along with a perforated pipe that would pick up the water in the ground and intercept it and bring it into the storm management system. The key to this is we would be putting it in place for the town's engineers' observation, and we are requesting that the village accept that line as part of the neighborhood storm sewer system, removing it from the HOA and simplifying all the conversations that have been happening over an extended period of time. In addition to that, there's currently 3 homes that are connected to the existing current drain system. We're proposing that all 3 of those homes be reconnected to the catch basins in front of the home as the neighborhood was originally designed. Again, taking the dependency on the current drain that is in place, out of play, and be done. Leave the neighborhood with a system that has been fully inspected, functional, dedicated to the village, and go on in the history. That's our proposal. Well, I know that was a lot of information, but any questions?
Sure, I'll just make, I'm Ken Pringle, I live at 10 West Avenue with my wife Donna. I think you're aware that myself and John Latin have been in contact people from Griffin Ridge, working extensively with Peter regarding the current drain items and the repair of those items. And it's been well over a year in that sense. And I want to acknowledge Pete for his continued efforts. I believe this proposal tonight is certainly a step in the right direction, even though there's still considerable work to do. As Pete has said, at the last meeting, and James Presley was there as well, we also requested Peter to connect the remaining homes, and there may be only 2 versus 3 to the storm drain. And then by that, in essence, that would essentially remove the primary purpose of the current drain from our neighborhood. And it would allow us to remove the HOA obligation to maintain the drain. And once completed, we would ask to amend the HOA and delete that section of HOA maintenance. I provided the board members with an email from John Latin this evening that further supports what I am stating this evening, and I would request respectfully that to be added to the minutes of the meeting this evening. Upon board review and discussion, I would request on behalf of the Griffin Ridge residents that you provide us with your decision and your position in this matter. But certainly your response will help guide our next steps. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to it.
Okay, any other comments or Jim?
Hi, Jim Procaglia, 66 Village Circle North, and my wife Peg. We've dealt with this for quite a while, and I just want to say we're speaking in favor and support what Mr. Malbani is proposing. It's been our observation that vacant lot 69, when it was excavated November of 2019, there was a pump running that lot for most of that month. And when that pump was draining that lot, we were not having any water backflowing into the southern area or our property. So I believe that a lot of the issue is coming from that general area. And I think the proposal satisfies a lot of the issues that we've discussed over the last 3 years. So again, we support what's being proposed.
I just have a question. So while at 68, speaking up.
Could you speak up, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at 68 Village Circle North, and I'm wondering if this new implementation are you digging up around there
In the rear yard in the east, of the
in the rear again? Again.
What's the current status on that vacant lot?
it's being held vacant, so this is brought to conclusion.
Okay,
Yeah, that's been intentionally done.
okay.
Do you know when that's about going to start?
Well, we need a decision before I can get it scheduled. We had a tentative schedule that has already passed. So we'll have to regroup and get that rescheduled. We're hoping very quickly, but we do have to get it to the point. And materials right now are not overly available, so we may have a short delay. Hopefully we'll keep it very short.
I am not conceptually opposed to it, but I do have a concern about the line running through 69. That's eventually going to be somebody's house, and the houses have been pretty tightly packed together. And
I would be leery of accepting maintenance responsibility for something like that.
I can appreciate that. The drawing is exaggerating where it will be placed. There will be an ample easement through there that the house will not encroach on. And that easement would be dedicated to the municipality, to the village, giving the village ample space if they ever needed to go through there. This is a pretty simplistic, dumbed down approach to compare to anything that we've had in the past. I don't visualize a reason why you would need to go back there. I'm quite confident any maintenance that you need to do would be minimal and probably could be done from the street, just going back through that line. But it's always possible, and we'd be giving an easement to the village for that purpose.
The original curtain drain, the new design would basically make that superfluous, I guess. What would be the, are there any, is there anything that could happen with the original curtain drain once that language gets deleted from the HOA, if that were the case, that required the village to do anything better?
I mean, Travis could possibly add to this. In my opinion, the line would go on into destiny and operating. But if in any point in history where it became dysfunctional, the dependence on it will have been removed.
Okay.
Travis, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think to do that, the former critical being there and selling around it, so there's a conduit for the water flow there, and it will give you the new piping to, we would pick it up on either side, north and south where the T is, and we'll flow through that conduit and off through the pipe.
I guess my comment on it is, if there is no maintenance of the original curtain drain envisioned, then there should be no problem with maintaining that language in the HOA. Because if there were a problem and it were deleted, then the village would be responsible for any kind of issues with the original curtain drain. I don't have a problem with the proposed new curtain drain, and I think there's some issues that could be ironed out. But in terms of the original one, why we put that language in the first place is because it wasn't inspected by the village, it wasn't supervised by the village engineer, so on and so forth. And I guess my major concern would be if we did delete that language from the HOA and the village was responsible for it and something did happen with it, then that kind of defeats the entire purpose of why we went about and created that language in the first place. So if there's no problems with it, if it's completely redundant and there's no issues, then there should be no issues maintaining that language in the HOA. That's my theory.
You're talking about,
We're talking about the original curtain drain.
well, specifically from 67, which I believe is Lasara's.
Yeah.
Down to Cleveland Ave, which is, I think, 51.
Right.
It doesn't make it quite repeatable that, but
Yeah.
you're right.
Because I see these as two different issues. So I see this as number one, the proposal is that we collaborate with you on a new curtain drain that's approved by the village engineer, supervised, constructed to village standards, et cetera. And that then we potentially take over maintenance of that. That's one issue. The second issue is the original curtain drain, which did not follow that protocol, which currently the HOA is responsible for maintaining should any issue arise. And the request from the residents of Griffin's Ridge to remove the language for maintenance from the HOA language, which would therefore put the responsibility of anything that happens to that original curtain drain on the village. So I think these are two separate distinct issues, and that's why it's kind of a little bit awkward because we don't have the attorney here tonight, we don't have the village engineer here tonight. So I have some questions.
I have a question. If you take it out, does it become the responsibility of each individual homeowner that has that?
But in theory, does the new curtain drain obviate the necessity for the old one?
I guess that's my question is if there's, it sounds like this would make it completely redundant, which is fine, but why would we then take the risk of the fact that it's not redundant, of taking that risk on as a village of having to maintain anything that could go wrong with the original curtain drain when we specifically designed the original language in the HOA so that that wouldn't be the case because it wasn't constructed to the village's standards or with village supervision. So those are, I see this as two separate issues, and that's why I'd like, the attorney's input on some of this stuff also.
I think that's the best answer.
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, because if it's homeowner or, I don't know who it would land on, and I just want to make sure as it pertains to the original curtain drain, there's no liability on the village in terms of if anything does go wrong with it, which it doesn't sound like it will, but I'd rather not personally take this.
I watched it being installed, and it's a deep hole with a lot of gravel at the bottom. So it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of stuff that could go wrong with it. In theory.
Question.
Yeah.
Rick, 65 Village Circle Board. Peter, is it your intention to remove 3 homes from the existing curtain drain? And with that being done, is it your intentions to just abandon the curtain drain or to remove it? And with regards to the curtain drain being outside of the easement in our backyard, is that going to be rectified, or how is this going to, what is your thoughts on this?
My thought process is that line in your backyard down the hill would be abandoned. And the functionality of it would continue to operate, but we would take the dependence off of it. And as you had suggested for your home, we connect it to the catch basin in front of your house as part of the original proposal. And we would do that same for any other house that's still connected to the current drain. I don't think there's a reason to terminate the current drain. Terminate the connection to the curtain drain because it will continue to function by design. But the dependence on it would not be. The dependence would be coming forward to the catch basins. So based on abandoning the line, it's a pipe in the ground. It's unfortunate that it is a totally in easement, but there's no longer a reason to be concerned about it.
So you're not going to disconnect you won't disconnect them from the 3 houses. You'll leave it as it is. And I guess my concern, just thinking out loud here, is that if there's a change in geology or there's a change of the water moving, right? So you've got this new curtain drain, which I think is a great idea. But so you're going to be taking that water off, but is that, I'm just wondering, is that going to have any effect on what lies behind our neighbors and ours? I wonder if that's going to change. I mean, because water is running the opposite way on the old one. So I wonder.
Rick, you said the opposite way, you mean running this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was due to the poor installation that was pitched in the wrong direction.
Right.
Where it was pitched in the correct direction, the water went in the right direction. So we know that the theory would work, but we want to start over here behind the Czar's house, come down here behind 68, funnel both those areas to a low spot, which would be along the property line of 69, and then go out, instead of relying on going through your backyard. Yes,
Ross Marvin, I'm at 63 Village Circle North, so 1 down.
so you're right, Pete, here.
Yes, and I'd just like to give a little history. I think this might help you a little bit back before you talk for 30. So
Sure.
I was like the 3rd house in. Our house was built when the SARS was still being built as well. At the time, their house was pumping constantly before they put in the curtain. Once the curtain drain was put in, that pumping ceased. Now, the problems with the curtain drain emerged later on, but my house at 63 is actually attached to the stormwater system. I'm not on the curtain. I can hear it pumping out to the front, I require a bucket of water down. So what I've noted, just from my house, talking about that line running down the hill, first off, we have a hill running down it. So that pipe is probably doing service to me or moving water without being connected to my home. If I were to have water in my pit, it gets pumped into stormwater. My pit's dry all the time at the top of the hill. The concern that Mr. Breggy brings up is a good one, say down the hill, if there was a change, like you said, in geology, or if there was a blockage that made water run backwards. I think the concern of anyone who's actually attached to the curtain drain would just be to make sure that that doesn't run back actually into their base. But I would assume that connecting them to stormwater, at least in my anecdotal experience, has rectified any problem. So I would assume if you just let that pipe alone, you're getting multiple ways that water is being taken away down the hill. You have a culvert in the back, woods in that part of the Lake's property. You have that pipe taking it away. So I think, you know, this solution of taking it out of the lot where there is the problem at the top of the hill. That would, there was tons of surface water there when we looked to build a house, and there's tons of water under the ground, so it's probably like a spring or something. It seems to me like that would resolve the problem. If you did do that alone, I don't see why it couldn't be taken out of the HOA, because I don't think it's ever going to be a problem unless something backed up into the houses, which, you know, that could possibly be fixed if you make sure that those pipes are not running into the fires. But if you leave it as is totally, it could be a problem for the connected front.
I don't disagree with you. I guess my point is from a village perspective, assuming nothing goes wrong, then there should be no problem leaving the language in there. If we take the language out and something does go wrong, then we're responsible for it. And we put the language in there specifically so we would not be responsible for it at the time. So that's the issue I have. I understand totally. I agree with you. I think this will work. It seems like it will work, and it seems like the curtain drain will be redundant and there'll be no issues with it. But we have to think about all eventualities, and we also have to think about the original purpose of why we put that language in there when we're coming up with what our ultimate decision will be. That's.
I thought you were making a different point than what you were just responding to. I thought you were asking about or commenting on the question of would you disconnect the existing houses from the old curtain drain so that if something did occur, it can't back up into those houses.
I think that is a concern. Some residents have.
So the question you were asking and commenting is more, are you going to disconnect the houses from the curtain drain, regardless of whether the discussion of whether the curtain drain stays in the language or not? Is that?
Yeah, and just to add to that is that originally when they actually traced and scoped the existing line, the reason that we were going to dig up our backyard was because there was a section of it that was crushed. So what is going to happen with that crushed piece of pipe? Is that going to get replaced or what?
Based on the new proposal, it's not necessary because the brush is upstream from your house. And we're picking the water up before it gets to your house. So we're kind of, that's going to be in between section that's no longer going to have a function to it.
Yeah, but the crush is downstream from our house. It's on the opposite side. It's on the other side of the house. That's where that crush is. Between Martin's and ours, that's where that crush piece pipe is.
I'm not going to say emphatically. We look at the videos and we can make it all the way up to the connection from your house. So I don't think it's crushed, but I have no problem going back and checking.
Could somebody tell me which houses are actually connected to the curtain drain?
Ross is not, is knowledge. The only one that I can disconnect with is RP's. Cassandra, is it? Russell.
Russell?
That would be-
That's 57?
We would want to confirm that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it based on somebody's memory because my memory is not good enough.
65 Village Circle Market definitely connected.
We know that one for sure.
And that was true. Nobody even from Belmont was telling me if I was connected or not. I just kind of experimented.
I thought you were connected.
So 65, Ross,
It's an
Ross,
easy thing to
you,
prove.
Ross, you don't know? We don't know, Ross, whether you're connected?
I think that would be good information to have.
And 59, the new house, is that going to be connected or is that connected at the street?
Sorry?
The new house 59, is that connected to the storm drain or the curtain drain?
No new homes have been connected to the storm drain in, let's say, 2 years.
So is there any way to get them off the curtain drain?
Oh, yeah, we could.
Then we wouldn't have to worry about it?
We could, if that's something that someone wanted. I was trying to minimize going into the rear yards and digging them up. But if we needed to sever a section of pipe and plug it with clay, we could.
That's what I would prefer.
Okay. I'm just trying to stay out of everybody's backyard.
And Rick, you and Karen are connected?
Yes.
Okay,
They're connected to current.
right.
Yeah.
And you want to be disconnected.
So that's a decision that each homeowner is gonna make whether they want to stay connected and have a redundant system. Or have it disconnected in case something happens in the future that.
Here, and we know that the catch basins can handle.
Yes. They're not handling anything different than they are right now. It's a different course. Right now, everything dumps into the catch basin down at 51, I believe it's at. And it goes to the storm management area behind fence house. These are, instead of going this way and connecting down here, they're gonna come this way and connect right there.
Could we just get verification of where the brush pipe was in the yard?
Sure.
Before we make that commitment of whether or not we want to be removed?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we got that video.
I think the other thing to iron out is the size of the easement between where it's coming to the road. I think, like you said, ample. That's something that we have to talk with.
Well, there's pretty typical widths of these.
Yeah.
And that would be disclosed to the purchaser of that lot. Does that mean
Absolutely.
she'll have to do something with it?
I don't have any
We're
more.
not sure how well we disclose it, nobody remembers. Makes no difference.
Tom, did you have any questions? No. Anything else? I think our next steps will be sitting down with the attorney, John Stevenson, the DPW head, the engineer, maybe Peter Travis and HOA rep or two in the next 2 weeks, maybe?
Okay.
Week, 2 weeks,
We're
when
available.
people get back from vacation. And take it from there.
So we will wait to hear from yourself.
Or, yeah.
We're very good. Thank you for
All
your
right, well,
time.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
Any other public comments?
You're welcome.
All right, next on the agenda. I just gotta figure out what I'm doing. Don't make me abuse my iPhone. Okay, next on the agenda, for those who wish to sneak out, you may do so now. Superintendent was out sick today. So I will give the report. The drainage project, another drainage project, went a little more smoothly. Has been completed on Burlington and Kavanaugh. And it will be followed up with some repaving over in that area. And treasurer's report.
The 21-22 annual financial report for the village has been filed with the New York State Comptroller. There's a copy in the office. I have a copy with me now if anybody wants to skim through it. And we'll see if we can get it up online. And I emailed that to all the board members, and I also emailed the usual monthly financial report. I have two resolutions tonight that I need. Number one, the 21-22 budget has been reconciled and is set to close. A list of final budget amendments has been emailed to the board members. Resolution is requested to amend the 21-22 budget as follows. Decrease general fund expenditures by $259,820.18. Increase general fund revenues $306,217.82. Decrease water fund expenditures $7,885.77. Increase water fund revenues $9,411.96. And lastly, decrease sewer fund expenditures by $1,333.46 and increase sewer fund revenues $4,404.70.
So
Second.
discussion? Poll? Tom?
Yeah, sorry, yes, we used to.
I know.
Yeah.
Tina?
Yes.
Yes.
Me? Yes.
Next one, number two, the fire department's 21-22 budget has been reconciled as well. Resolution is requested to transfer the final distribution of fire contract revenues in the amount of $179,762.26 to the fire department's equipment reserve, and then I laid out the entry for it.
So moved.
Discussion? Poll?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
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 And that's it for me.
Next, Chief is at a concert at SPAC tonight, so he sent me his report. They had 46 calls last month and continue to run equal with last year. We took a trip to the factory last week to do preliminary work on the new truck, and delivery is scheduled for September 2024. We'll be at Malta Community Days and the Malta 5K race on September 10th. And code enforcement.
The planning board is reviewing the mill expansion. And looking at it, we decided most of his parking is in Clifton Park, so do a joint seeker with Clifton Park. We also realized that he's over the village bulk regulation for lot coverage, so we're going to refer the project to the zoning board. We also had an issue with 11 Ames Avenue, which is the B&B in the village where there are cars. Somebody complained that cars parked on the lawn, pulled up the driveway. And I contacted the attorney for the owner, and of course they said, "Well,
Till the next time.
Question, when does that cease to become the April?
October 21st.
Oh,
Of this year.
Yeah.
And then he loses, he either have to comply with the existing law, or he loses the ability to use that area. So,
I just want to say this is really the first complaint about it here. It's been very quiet. That's it.
And have we started discussions with him so that
No.
he's aware? I think we should.
Yeah.
Okay, code enforcement, animal control, auditorium. Oh, there you go.
Well,
so many people I haven't heard. My name is Sharon Watson, I'm the director of the auditorium. And I'm just reporting what we have done and what we are doing in the next month. We finished up the Carpe Diem Children's Theater with a big performance weekend. We had many people. It all went well. The children were fabulous. And we hope that they will come back next year. The next open mic is on August 26th. And the final open mic of the season, if any of you haven't seen one, they're quite interesting, on September 16th. We're also on in the middle of September, we're holding a date for a silent movie in the organ. And speaking of the organ, this year we're taking a little different approach to the organ concerts. One on August 21st and one on Labor Day. We're actually doing a guided tour of the auditorium for people who haven't experienced that. It's not literally every day that you have a national historic landmark in your backyard. So I think that knowledge is powerful and that we will make it known and bring new activities regarding the organ. So the guided tour will be 2 recitals of nationally known organists, and then we will have an artist meet and greet after. So I hope that some of you consider doing that. This year, we're able to, you can purchase tickets online. Just go into brownlakeauditorium.org. And we hope that we see you then. On September 11th, it will be one of our fun. We're having 2 drumming circles, and they're free and open to the public. The first one will be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, September 11th. Because we are celebrating that day with a celebration of joy and happiness. And we hope that people will come. The first one is at 2 o'clock. It's free for all children. And the second one is at 3:30, where every adult and teens over 15 are welcome to join. So we hope we see you all then. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Lydia, AP3.
Just a quick report, AP3 is testing some fans that could potentially be used to help with climate issues in the auditorium. There's finalists that if the members of the board would like to see what this is all about, we're gonna test it over there on either Tuesday or Wednesday, the 23rd or 24th at 6:30. Let me know if you'd like to be a part of that, and yeah. Yes, no, you would. And if you have a preference for either day. So the fan that we're kind of settled on needs to be hardwired in. So Jeff Bannon is working on some kind of mechanism to stimulate that. It's a really pricey option, but it's quieter, and we just need to see if it's going to be worth the money to ameliorate some of the miserable. The only other thing I want to mention is that the fundraiser for the auditorium is September 18th. It's a Sunday. It's 3:30 to 7. We will have all you can eat pizza. I'm 98% sure we'll have all you can eat ice cream as well. That will also feature a sign-up option. And if anyone has a good or service they'd like to donate to that, we'd love to have it. You know, if you make quilts, or if you make pottery, or if you like to walk dogs, anything at all. And finally, we have, last year we made a coin operated machine, collector's spare change. This year we're going to do it by way of games, like carnival games. So once again, we would love it if you could save your pennies and bring them over and contribute to this once a year fundraiser for our audience.
Is it the same pizza guy? What's that? Is it the same pizza guy?
It is.
They did an excellent job.
They really did.
Lydia, I won't be able to make it on either of those 2 days. What is the fan? I'm just curious. What's the fan? Do you have the model of the fan or the name, or can you get that info? to the board? Yeah, all right, thank you.
All right, our clerk is on vacation. She left me to decipher her handwriting. A few meetings back, we read a letter from Town of Stillwater about a concrete plan near the border of Malta and Stillwater. Apparently, Mr. Tansky has pulled the paperwork, so we can forget about that if we haven't already. Some of the stained glass panels in the auditorium have been repaired, and I think that word is completed. And, oh, there's a blood drive, 9/13, September 13th, from 1 to 6 at the firehouse. We'll be getting some probably weekly reminders about that between now and then. And under old business, we have a couple resolutions. Adopting local law number 2, definition of cottage zoning, PDD. Whereas the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees wishes to amend Chapter 158 of the Village Code to amend Article 7, cluster zoning. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds that the proposed action is a Type 2 action as defined by 6 NYCRR 617.2 AJ, and no further action is necessary to comply with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees held a public hearing concerning the proposed amendment to the Article 7 cluster zoning of Chapter 158 subdivision of land of the Code of the Village of Round Lake to fully amend and replace the provisions thereof on the 17th day of August 2022 at 6:45 p.m. at the Round Lake Village Hall, 49 Burlington Ave, Round Lake, New York, at which time and place all persons desiring to be heard were heard. Now, therefore, it is resolved that local law number 2 of 2022 is adopted, and the village clerk is directed to file the same with the New York State Secretary of State forthwith.
Second.
Discussion?
This is on the chapter 58 article 7 cluster. This is the 180-3, the definition.
That's the next one.
I think Tom asked us.
Right. Thank you. This is local law number 2. Tom?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Me? Yes. Resolution adopting local law number 3, definition of cottage zoning, PDD. Whereas the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees wishes to amend Chapter 180 of the Village Code to clarify the definition of cottage zoning planned development district. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds that the proposed action is a Type 2 action as defined by 6 NYCRR 617.2 AJ, and no further action is necessary to comply with the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. And whereas the Round Lake Village Board of Trustees held a public hearing concerning the proposed amendment to 183 definitions, Chapter 180 zoning of the Code of the Village of Round Lake to provide clarifying language to the definition of cottage zoning plan district on the 17th day of August at 6:45 at the Round Lake Village Hall, 49 Burlington Ave, New York, at which time and place all persons desiring to be heard were heard. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the local law number 3 of 2022 is adopted, and the village clerk is directed to file with the New York State Secretary of State forthwith.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Multiville Water project, there's nothing new to report on that. Pre-inventory, Davy Resources was awarded the revised contract. The tree committee is working with them on the next steps. Municipal building. Asbestos testing was completed satisfactorily on the basement under the entryway. And Round Lake Auditorium parking review reminder, the September, this is for the board, we'll be reviewing the The seventh?
First one.
That's that's what's written about. We'll be reviewing that, so we want to take a look at that again for that meeting. Correspondence. There was something from the New York State Folks Walker group. They did a kind of a little history walk through the village. Oh, here it is. The Empire State Capitol Folks Sport donated $100 to the auditorium. For letting us walk around the village and use the bathrooms. So it's nice. Approval of minutes.
Anybody have any edits to it? So I think I'll make a motion to
Wait,
approve.
was everybody here?
Good question. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do them one by one.
Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 8th.
Everyone was here. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Nina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
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 Well, I gotta do the seven fund. I did a motion to the minutes of seven fund. Why was I here?
That was gonna be my question.
Save that for discussion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Aha, okay, yes. And August 3rd.
Motion to approve the minutes for August 3rd.
Second.
Discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Approval of abstract in the amount of $215,312.24.
Second.
Second.
You made the motion right here.
I'm just writing it down for, who seconded?
Me.
Seconded it. Tom?
Yes.
Yes.
And the village attorney, no comments. Village mayor would like to thank everybody for the patience with the excellent event this weekend, Markets at Round Lake, and I hope you got out to enjoy it and had a good time. And special thanks to all the volunteers who made that possible. And trustees.
Nothing for me.
Nothing. All right, public comment. Jim.
How many minutes or so delayed here?
Been a pretty busy time. Whenever we get backed up when there's tax collection, water and sewer, when they come in.
Perilously close to how it used to be.
No, you're right. It's four is a lot.
Okay. Just wonder why.
There was another hand, Karen.
A couple of things. We have some dead trees that are on the village's property.
Right.
Several times.
Yeah.
Because there is potential, they're tall enough that they can get out in their house. So we're just wondering if there's that.
This week we have the tree company coming in to look at a number of trees, and I'll make sure that that's included. I know John has been there and looked at it. And we have a number of bigger, more dangerous trees. It's, a matter of setting priorities. but I will remind him.
Because they're not looking really good.
Yeah, no, I was there about 2 hours ago taking a look at them.
And then the other thing, there is a drain on village property behind our house. That drain has been clogged with leaves for some time now, and it is not draining at all, and it's backing up, and especially backing up into our yard.
Wait. You, the one in the bridge.
Yeah, where the bridge is.
Yeah.
That little stream.
I-
over.
Is that the top is drained up? Because the water goes in below. It doesn't, I don't think water even goes in the top.
Well,
No, there's a stream.
Right.
And from that stream, there is that culvert, that drain.
Yeah.
That was put in there so that it could drain properly through. That is all backed up with leaves. The entire stream is backed up with leaves, so that it's not draining through there down into that meadow. It's backing up.
You know, I used to go through there and go over that thing all the time. Then somebody put up a sign that said Zim Smith this way. So I turned. So I haven't been able to stay on top of it. But I will make sure. I'll do that tomorrow.
Not really great. Backed up into our.
Really?
yeah, it's mostly in the wet weather in the spring. And what happens is that obviously we know that the culvert, it goes down and then feeds out into the main stream back there. But what's happening is it just gets clogged in that area and then it backs up into the lower portion of our yard. And it only happens like in the spring and.
Really wet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not a top priority, but it's just something.
All right, I will check that out. Anything else?
Here, this is about my email regarding the trees on the side of our lot too.
Oops.
Gary, you have to watch it behind our house. No, you can't quit.
Oh, just limbs, get on the list. All right, you're on the list.
See the tree removal button.
Yes.
Here.
It was just limbs, you go down and go, I would go out and change them.
That's right. Sign the waiver.
Yeah.
Now, do you know, is that on the county right away or the village or?
Fine, I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Yeah. I just have to be outside today. And I'm not sure if the town's aware of this, but the order, Bill and some other gentlemen were there. And they were looking at the trail. They're talking about the possibility of running a water line. At the corner of our property over to the mill for a fire. For a fire.
Fire hydrant.
I don't understand why we couldn't do that.
Well, that was on the table years
Yeah.
ago.
No, it was an agreement. I know that Wayne is now looking at reconnecting. There was an agreement when the development was put in, was put in to get an easement for the mill to run water actually to the next house over, continue the water line and the mill can pick that up and run it over to so he can get filled with water. And I think he's in the process of, he wants to expand and needs to get filled with water.
Isn't there a hiking down below Cindy's?
Yes.
On that side?
It's way down by the dock, by the launch, boat launch. I think they, this was negotiated with Belmonte when we first did the development to continue the water line. We got an easement and it would run actually through village property, over to Bob's house and then down to over across to the mill. I don't think it's up by the grid line.
They
Oh,
were
yeah.
talking about that right up
Right,
the
the
side of
trail.
our house.
You know, and it's interesting, why would
We weren't.
Hey, where? He's talking, and then I'll tell you, he's very basic because he's talking about going down the trail behind the house. It's he was the owner, maybe they don't know.
No, no,
The owner.
we in a contract. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, there's.
I said, that was 500 feet down.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the plans to see exactly where it is.
But they were going under Route 9 by Bob Clayton.
That's exactly what the plan is. It's not over the trestle.
Right.
Trestle. Yeah,
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 they're still
it's just-
talking.
I just want to make sure.
yeah, no, it's something that it came up with, he's looking to expand and like that. He was looking at which would be easier to do, to go from Griffin's Ridge or to go down from the boat launch, to come up along the line. It may be cheaper for him, I think, to come from the boat launch. He doesn't,
Oh, yeah.
tunneling under the ground is very expensive.
Where is he thinking of putting a fire? station?
I think we want to do it on the line, down by this.
Okay, so I was gonna say, we're not gonna run over the cross.
No.
Yeah.
We should do
Anything else that we should know? That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to, do I hear a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.